To ensure we can keep producing great free content, please leave a comment below or leave a question that we can help you with. Then like and subscribe for all the latest updates. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. So let's look at Lightroom for editing now. We've looked at Lightroom for taking photos, but now what we want to do is actually show you about the app for editing photos. This is ranked as one of the best photographer apps for fine-tuning photos. As mentioned before, at the time of this video, the app is free to use, and there are so many more options than the native iPhone app editing tool and camera can give. So if you haven't already, you need to go to the App Store and download the app. As mentioned before, the app is called the Adobe Lightroom Photo Editor, and it's got this icon. When you download it and open it, it will show a few samples and then you have to register. You won't get bombarded with spam as there is a tick box for no mail. Adobe is one of the leading photo software companies and should be trustworthy. Once registered, the app will request access to your photos, which you will have to accept. When the app is open, you have two main options. One is to tap and import a photo from your iPhone camera roll or select a photo from your Lightroom library. To import one from the iPhone camera roll, tap the left-hand toggle on the bottom right. Choose the location of the photo. If only one photo, select the photo, then click Tick at the top right-hand corner to import. If you want to import multiple photos, click the three dots on the top right-hand corner and then tick the Select Mode box. Now you can choose multiple photos. When done, tap the Add button on the bottom right. So to edit a photo, tap the photo in the library to start editing. A lot of these sliders do similar things to the native iPhone camera editing app, which hopefully you're more used to now. But these sliders have the added benefit of fine-tuning many features. So let's go through some of the sliders very quickly to give you an overview. I'm not sure why Lightroom has put the selective image editing tools first, but let's go through them in order all the same. So in panel 1, we have selective. This section we will go through more in our advanced course of editing. But just to give you an overview, the Selective Tool Edit control allows you to make corrections to a specific area of a photo. So if we hit the Selective Tool, and on the top left-hand corner you will see a plus. So you have a choice of painting a selection, or you have a choice of drawing a circle or an oval. Lastly, the third icon is for a graduation. Once we've made our selection, we can now go into the area that we want to adjust, whether that would be the light, the color, or the effect, or the detail. And by adjusting this effect, it will only adjust the selection area and not the remaining part of the photo. It leaves the rest of the photo alone, so this is great for selective editing. Okay, let's have a look at healing. This includes the healing brush and the cloning tool to help remove unnecessary spots, power lines, people, objects, or any such distractions in a photo. The clone tool duplicates like for like, but the healing tool interprets a suggestion with much more of a blended finish, perfect for facial work. So let's have a look at this girl here, and we see that there's a slight mole on her neck that we might want to remove. So we're going to the healing brush now. Now it's the same as the selection tool. At the top we have the healing tool, which looks like a mini tablet. Then we have the clone stamp underneath. And as before, we have the three circles, which shows the size of the clone tool or the healing tool, then the feathering, and then the opacity. So what we're going to do is zoom into the area that we want to look at, and we hit the healing tool at the top. And then we're going to tap on the area that we want to remove. As you can see, I've tapped on the mole and two circles have come up. The thicker circle is the area that you've chosen to remove. The smaller, thinner circle is where Lightroom thinks that you might want to suggest to actually use that as a tool. The smaller, thinner circle is where Lightroom is suggesting where you take your replacement from. If it's not quite right, you can actually move the tool around and find the area that best suits the tonal range and light and color of the area that you want to heal. I think that's pretty good there. So if we zoom back out again, that's gone. Okay, we're going to go into the cropping now. This is the same as the native app, allowing you to crop in different ways, but you have greater flexibility in the Lightroom app. So at the bottom, we have our ratio aspect. Now this is giving you lots of different options from custom down to original setting all the way through to various different settings of different ratios. You can lock or unlock the ratio. So if you choose a ratio size and you want to keep that ratio, press the lock button, then you'll be able to keep the ratio as you're editing. Then you have the straighten tool, which will do an automatic straighten on what it thinks should be straight, but obviously it doesn't know what the photo is, so it doesn't always get it right. Then you have the rotate tool, that's the left, and then you can go to the right. And then you have the flip, now that's horizontal. And then you have the option of vertical. Underneath the photo, you'll see a 0 degrees. Now, if you just tap and hold, you can actually turn and slide the photo around in variable degrees to the actual desired effect you're looking for to ensure that you can get impact in that photo with the crop. When you're happy with your photo, you can press the tick on the bottom right-hand corner, and that will save your crop. Okay, we'll come on to profiles. Now, profiles allow you to control the colors and the tones in your photos, similar to the native iPhone app ones, but these are far more flexible. They are intended to serve as a starting point or a foundation on making photo imaging edits. You also have a selection in the drop-down menu to choose from. We have basic, artistic, black and white, modern, and vintage. So there's quite a few there, but you can actually make your own custom profiles and save them as your favorites. Now we're getting into the main editing. Just one quick point for those that know what a histogram is and would like to use it. In our advanced course, we go through the use of a histogram, but I wanted to let those who want to use a histogram know exactly where it is, because it's not actually obvious. So for those that don't know what a histogram is, what is a histogram and what is it used for? A histogram is a graphical representation of the tonal values of your image and is used by all professional photographers. It shows the amount of tones and particular brightness found in your photograph, ranging from black to white, as shown in the image. Dark areas are displayed on the left-hand side of the histogram. As you move right, tones get lighter. The middle portion of the histogram represents the midtones, which are neither dark nor light. The vertical axis of the histogram displays the amount of tones in a particular lightness. This is for the finest tuning of an image. For those that want to know where the histogram is and use it within Lightroom, tap 2 fingers onto the photo. This will bring up the histogram, but I just wanted to let those that would like to use a histogram and know how to use it know exactly where it is, because it's not actually visible until you actually tap 2 fingers on the photo. So we're in panel 2 now. Auto. As a starter, you can get Lightroom to do most of the work in the auto edit for you. So in Edit, click the auto icon at the bottom. Lightroom will automatically apply the best edits to these slider controls in your photos. This is exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites and blacks, saturation and vibrance. It doesn't always get it right, but here is a good point to get you started with. Now we're just going to go through the lighting area, which is very similar to the native app, but just in case people haven't gone through that, we just want to give an overview of exactly all the controls here. So we start with exposure. This adjusts the tones of the amount of light throughout the whole of the photo, and this can be adjusted with the sliders going from left to right. The contrast. This controls the contrast, which is the range between the lightest and the darkest parts of the photo. Likewise with highlights. This changes the highlight detail, the brightest areas of the photo. By decreasing the highlights value, the brighter areas become slightly more darker. The shadows. This adjusts the detail that appears in the shadows or the darker areas. By increasing the shadows, the darker areas of the photo will become slightly brighter and show greater detail. The whites. This adjusts white clipping. Drag to the left to reduce the clipping in the highlights, and drag to the right to increase the highlight of the clippings. Likewise with whites, there's the blacks, and that is to adjust the black clipping. Drag to the left to increase the black clipping, and drag to the right to reduce the shadow and clipping. You'll notice on the top right of the edit panel, curves. This again is in the advanced course of editing and is a large subject to cover. The tone curve graph represents changes made by a tonal scale in a photo through the brightness and darkness of colours. As mentioned, we go through this in our advanced course, but curves is a massive subject and too big to actually go through in detail in this course. Now we come on to colour. Now this is mainly to do with white balance and colour. Just to confirm, white balance. White balance is used to adjust colours to match the colour of the light source. So the white objects appear white and the black appear as true black. Subjects may be lit by a number of different light sources, including daylight, giving off a blue tone, incandescent lights, giving off a red tone, and fluorescence, giving off a green tone. In this graphic I've produced, it gives an overview on how colour temperature is made up and what it looks like, and how it's measured by a rating scale called Kelvin. Now we go into the temperature and tint, and this fine-tunes the white balance using the temperature and tint controls. So for the temperature ranging from the blues going through to the yellows, and for the tint going from the greens through to the magenta. Below this we have the vibrance and the saturation. This changes the colour saturation, the vividness or the colour purity of the colours. As mentioned before, don't oversaturate colours because particularly on a face or a scene, it can look unnatural. And we want to edit a photo to ensure that it looks as natural as possible, but it really pops. At the top of our sliders, you will notice the white balance drop down. So choosing the white balance drop down, we have the choice of as shot, auto or custom. We also have the option of the white balance picker, which is a great tool to fine-tune our white balance. Sometimes you'll take a photo in a lighting condition. Either the camera misreads it with your auto white balance set on the camera, or you have added a colour light source that is different to what the camera is set at. This picker is the easiest way to transform your photo to correct the white balance. So to correct your photo, take your picker and tap on a neutral area in the photo. Once you've tapped on this area, you'll see a change of colour. Hopefully this colour will be just right for you. If not, just keep moving your picker around to choose another neutral area to try. So this is looking pretty good, so we'll go with this and then just click the tick. On the left hand side you'll see B and W for black and white. Here you can change the colour photo to black and white and then change the sliders to get different colour tones. Colour mix. This is a great tool for enhancing individual colours without affecting other colours in the photograph. Clicking on Mix reveals the colour palette. Whichever colour you want to enhance or decrease, select the relevant colour circle, i.e. if we look at blue sky, click the blue for the sky, then use the slider to adjust the photo as required to change the blues and the blues alone. The hue, this changes the colour. The saturation, this changes the intensity of the colour. And the luminance, this changes the brightness of the colour. As you can see from the small amount of sky that we have in the photo, when we're sliding the sliders, we're only adjusting the blue and not touching any of the other colour because we've just selected the blue circle. We can do this with other colours as well. Okay, now we come on to the effects and the definition again. Now texture. This removes or emphasises texture details in your photo. Moving the slider to the left softens the details, and moving to the right emphasises the details. When you adjust the texture slider, the colour or the tonality does not change. Let's look at clarity. This adds depth to an image by increasing local contrast. When using this setting, it is best to zoom in 100% or greater. To zoom in, double tap the photo or use the two-finger outward spread gesture. Dehaze. This controls the amount of haze in a photo. Drag to the right to remove the haze and drag to the left to enhance the haze. Vignetting, as we've mentioned before. This applies a dark or light vignette for an artistic effect to the photo. Negative values darken the corners of the photo and positive values lighten the corners. This can be used to bring focus to the subject. You can also change the values of the vignette with the midpoint, the feather and the roundness slider to get a greater effect you prefer. Looking at the grain. This adds realistic film grain to your photos. Drag the slider to the right to add the grain. When you add the grain, you can control the grain size and roundness using the slider with the size and roundness sliders respectively. Now on the top right you'll see the split tone controllers. This is another one of the advanced editing course modules. It's just too big to actually go through now, but I just want to briefly explain it. This controls how to create a split tone effect, in which different colour is applied to shadows and highlights. Hue sets the colour of the tone. Saturation sets the strength of the effect. Set the balance slider to balance the effect between the highlight and the shadow sliders. Now we're coming into the detailing of the photo with noise reduction and sharpening. You can reduce the image noise by removing the irrelevant visible artifacts by degrading image quality. Image noise includes luminance noise, which is grayscale, which makes the image look grainy, and the chroma noise, which is the colour, which is usually visible as coloured artifacts in the image. Photos taken with high ISO speeds can also have noticeable noise. Now we're going to look at optics. Camera lenses can have different types of defects at certain focal lengths, f-stops and focal distances. You can actually automatically correct these. With the iPhone, I rarely use this adjustment, but I just need to explain, because these are here, what they're for. Now, the chromatic aberration, this turns on to automatically correct the blue, yellow and red-green fringes in your image. Enable lens correction. This turns on to apply a lens correction on the photo. Because of the iPhone, there is generally very little difference with the iPhones, and I never really use this. Okay, let's get on to geometry. This is great if you take a lot of buildings, etc. This allows you to straighten the certain aspects of an image, such as a building leaning. So what do we have? Well, we have the automatic correction. This corrects both the vertical and horizontal perspective while balancing the overall image, preserving as much of the visible image as possible. The level setting. What this does is this corrects the horizontal perspective, making the horizontal lines parallel in the photo. And the vertical, well, this corrects the vertical perspective caused by tilting the camera up or down, making vertical lines parallel in the photo. The full option, this combines the auto, level and vertical upright modes and automatically corrects the perspective. The manual, this is a great way to be able to allow you to draw your own guide on your photo and adjust the perspective manually. So let's have a quick look at this. So if you tap on the two crossed lines on the top right of the edit bar, and you'll notice that in the bottom left-hand corner you see a plus sign. A plus sign in a circle means adding a line. What we need to do now is draw two lines on our buildings, one either side. So with our finger, what we're going to do is draw down one side of the building and let go. You will notice you have a circle, top and bottom. With the bottom circle, just make sure that the line is at the base of the building. With the top circle, then bring the line so the actual line runs down that side of the building. Then we do the same on the other side, popping the bottom circle at the base of the building, and then with the top circle, pull that across so the line runs down the actual building itself. Then press done, and there you go. Your buildings are straight. One thing that you need to do is shoot slightly looser if you're shooting buildings, because if you know that you want to come in to change the perspective, it will actually zoom into the photo and use more of the photo, so you won't have as much room around the building as you once thought. Likewise with the native app, if you actually just tap and hold the photo, you will see the original photo, and then if you let go, it will show you your edit, so you can see the correction that you've just made. Now we're going into panel 3, which is presets. This is a greater variety of settings to choose from, with all the individual elements of the edits. You can actually create your own presets. If you shot a number of different photos that were taken under the same lighting conditions, you can just edit one photo and save the settings as a preset, and then apply your custom setting to every other photo. This is done by tapping all the three dots at the top right hand corner and select Create Preset. Alternatively, after finishing the edit of your photo, with the photo just selected, tap on the three dots and select Copy Settings. When you then go to another image, you can then just do Paste Settings. Now we go on to the Previous button. As you can see, this is grayed out. What the Previous button allows you to do is make lots of edits to one photo, And if the next selection of photos have the same lighting conditions, by pressing the previous button on the next unedited photo, it will apply the same adjustments that you've made on the previous photo to the next one. So this is like doing a copy and paste of all the adjustments to your next photo. Now we go on to the last toggle, which is versions. This is a great addition to Lightroom, introduced in June 2020. This allows you to experiment with different edits of the same photo and save them as versions without creating multiple copies. This way you don't lose your first set of edits and you can easily compare all the different types of edits. So once you've done an edit on the photo and want to consider other edit options, scroll across the toolbar and tap Versions. You can view the original, which is the photo that you imported. If you have made any edits to the photo, you can view those under the Current Photo tab. To save the current edits as a version, tap Create Version. Enter a title name for the version and then tap Create. This way, you can apply different edits and save them as versions. To rename or delete a version, select the version photo, then tap the three-dot icon at the top right-hand corner. Here, you can then choose whether to rename or delete. Reset, redo, or undo. If you want to go back after making an edit, you can press the undo icon at the top of the screen and keep pressing until you have gone back far enough. Alternatively, you can go to the very last icon in the base menu on the right and tap Reset. Here you have an option of resetting the adjustments or all of the edits made. Keywords. Under Edit in the top left-hand corner, you can see the word Keywords. Now, if you add a keyword to your image, so if it was going to be building, portrait, or anything like that, you can add multiple keywords to help search for a number of photos that you may be looking for. So why do you want to add keywords to your photos? Well, after a while, you have amassed a mass of photographs. What you may want to do at some point is actually find all the photos that may have buildings in, or females, or males, or beach photos, holiday photos. So what you can actually do is add information like titles and keywords to make searching for photos very simple. So when searching for photos, you can use the search funnel at the top and type in a keyword. This will then bring up all the photos that are relevant with your keyword. Export, sync, and share. Now you've completed all the editing on your photos, you can then decide how you would like to export the photo or photos as a digital file, whether you want to print, save, or even post online. So on the top right of your screen, you'll notice a square box with an arrow going up through the top of it. And this will allow you to choose where you would like to send this photo. Now, whether you want to share it or get a link, or you want to invite people to view the photo. You can also open this particular photo in applications, and you can edit it in further applications. You can also export it to the camera roll or to your files. And you can also export it in particular formats, so you can reduce the size of the image from a RAW file to a JPEG, and then the image quality for sending purposes or exporting onto websites. So there's a whole variety of ways of actually exporting your photos. To ensure we can keep producing great free content, please leave a comment below or leave a question that we can help you with. Then like and subscribe for all the latest updates. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.